Pretend you're not talking shit online with your friends. Tweets and receipts won't stay behind the curtain. You think you know that you got the man, but honey, you'll always be a fan. You'll always be a fan. Killing kindness, the truth always comes to light. No need for trying, God's timing is always right, right? Why don't you calm down? You can't help it, you're obsessed. Who's the bad guy now? What did you expect? You can make believe that you're the big good person. Pretend you're not talking shit online with your friends. Tweets and receipts won't stay behind the curtain. You think you won cause you got the man, but honey, you'll always be a fan. You'll always be a fan. Sabotage thought was king. That's it, he was here to stay. He got in the ring, put him away. Heavyweight champ of the world. On this platform he was built. No one could take his crown. No one could ever knock him down. Critics said he was massive like his mind had been possessed. 350 pounds, the ground would shake with every single step that he would take. It was all hello to you when God made him perceive just what he was about to lose. Binging on drugs, food and booze. The fury of the owns the ring. We top back upon his feet. Wilder surely just got me. He walked up and knocked the door. He said, Tyson, I just can't take any more. He took him for a 3-mile run. I sure hate his life had only just begun. But he owns the land. We all know when it's the gypsy king. He gypsy king, he gypsy king, he gypsy king. Yes, he owns the land. We all know when it's the gypsy king. He gypsy king of his shoulders and working well. He's a gypsy king. And anyone from where.
Oh, hello. Who have we got here? Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hey, what's up, mate? You right? That's one of our songs. I'm going to you. I've got a lot of music on. This is my band. Finishing on some art. Martin?
Not a good time to meet her. She's got a seat out. Last of the fine souls. She's a meter. Walking for the Peter. She likes to cheat. On the edge of the throat.
That was good, that esoteric much more, wasn't it? There was some serious synchronicities in there. Today I was at my mate's house. Looking forward to it, mate. I was at my friend's house today, and we looked down this well. It's got a well in the back garden. And it was exactly the same as the shaft on that Giants Jim Vieira, Hugh Newman video. And what was that? That's it. Esoteric of more. Is it ET? I don't know. They and there was another thing. Fucking totally lost what it was now. Hello, anyone else who joined in? Hello, Dino, mate. Are you alright? How's it going? I'll crack into it in a minute, so we won't get many more, I wouldn't have thought. Into chapter 2 of the Grail. Pretty interesting stuff. Excuse me. I shouldn't talk while I'm eating. So I didn't read this. I'm not going to read that. This is in French. So, the origins and growth of Arthurian romance. Too many investigators, professional scholars, as well as amateurs in their search for answers to the riddle of the Grail, have looked in the most unlikely places and resemble an absent-minded gentleman who hunts for his pince nez in the refrigerator, the wastebasket, the medicine cabinet, the pockets of his riding breeches, and the grandfather clock, while the object of his search is resting on his nose. Would it not be sensible to seek the clues to the mystery of the Grail, not in Mohammedan or Albigensian or late Hellenic cults, but in the history of Arthurian romance? As everyone knows, the stories of the Holy Quest form a part of the larger body of fiction, of which Arthur is the central figure. It was at his palace of Camelot that the Grail appeared, covered with white samite, and it was from Camelot that the Knights of the Round Table set forth in the hope of seeing the mystic vessel. Yeah, go on. I'm only going to be doing this for this chapter. I'm up for you doing that later on, mate. Definitely. It was from Camelot that the Holy Knights of the Round Table set forth in the hope of seeing the mystic vessel more openly. There can be no doubt that the French men of letters who told of these astonishing adventures regarded them as inseparably connected in time and place with Arthur's reign and Arthur's realm. Accordingly, if we wish to gain insight into the origin and meaning of the legends of the quest, the most sensible procedure is to find out what we can about the Arthurian tradition as a whole and to determine the forces which produced it. The researches of the last 100 years have gradually enabled us to understand whence it came into possession of the French romancers and how it developed into a favourite secular reading matter of Western Europe for 400 years. It's almost certain that Chrétien de Troyes, or de Troyes, the first of the Arthurian romancers, whose work has survived, relied mainly on written text for the plots of his 4 traditional poems, and in fact he referred to the book of Count Philip of Flanders, gave him as the basis for the Comte de Grail, or the Count of the Grail. But it's also clear that he had heard similar tales from professional reciters. He refers scornfully to those who earn their livelihood by telling stories and who spoil and mutilate the tale of Eric in the presence of kings and counts. Again, he declares that he has never heard more about the Knight of the Lion than what he has related in Yvain. The second continuer of the Comte de Grail describes certain strolling minstrels who go from court to court and in return for a night's lodging tell lying tales without rhyme. Geoffrey of Monmouth attributes to Merlin the prophecy that the deeds of Arthur will provide food, i.e. a livelihood for storytellers. The Norman Wace, in a well-known passage, speaks of the conteurs who have told over so often the adventures which befell in the reign of Arthur and have so embellished them that they seem to be fictitious. There can be no doubt then that in the 12th and in the early 13th centuries, there was a class of professional storytellers who entertained kings, counts, and lesser nobles with a repertory of romantic tales about Arthur and his knights. And we have testimony that by 1180, Arthur's fame had spread to the Crusader states of Antioch and Palestine. It is also evident that this oral tradition furnished material to the Frenchmen of letters who have left us the romances in verse and prose which we possess, including certain early versions of the Grail quest, the mixed and the short forms of the first continuation of the Conte de Grail, Del Grail, retain, as Jesse Weston pointed out, and as we shall see in chapter 6, many characteristics of oral delivery again and again, Again and again, the poet addresses his audience as seigneurs. Seigneurs. Again and again, he refers to the adventure which they have just heard, or to one which they are about to hear. Twice he pauses to ask them to recite a paternoster for the dead. And the second time he adds a request for a drink of wine before he resumes. In most of the manuscripts, however, these vestiges of oral recitation have been removed, but the original form calls up a vivid picture of the social setting in which stories of the Grail were told in 12th century before they were sat down on parchment for readers instead of listeners. A translation of the visit of Gawain to the Grail Castle, as given in the early text, will be found in chapter 6, and a critical examination of it in chapter 7. Let us turn back the clock to the 12th century and imagine ourselves as guests in the great hall of a castle such as that of Philip of Flanders, Chrétien's patron at Ghent, or the counts of the Poitou at Poitiers, or that of the kings of England in the White Tower at London. Halls still open to the visitors today. It is a winter's evening, and many torches set in sockets along the walls enable us to make out the mural paintings illustrating the fall of Troy or the wars of Charlemagne with the Saracens. Candelabra illuminate the high table covered with white napery. A baron who holds the office of butler and his minions stand ready with their pitchers to refill the gilded and silver goblets of spiced wine from Gascony. In spite of the logs blazing and the great fireplace, the atmosphere is chilly, and most of the household wear woolen robes lined or bordered with fur. The bearded lord of the castle, his lady with long braids of yellow hair, two tonsured ecclesiastics, and certain honoured guests are engaged in chatting and laughing at the high table. There comes a pause. The lord gives a signal to the marshal. The marshal calls for silence and beckons to a black-haired man in his prime, seated at one of the lower tables. Thus some man approaches the dais, bows to the lord and lady, and asks what tale they would like to hear. After a brief consultation, the lord calls for the adventures of Gawain at the castle of the Fisher King. This is an old favourite, but the tale is never too stale, for every conteur has his own version of amalgam, and those he has heard with original touches of his own. The audience listens, hushed, while after a pious invocation, he launches into his story. His language is French with a Breton accent. His mobile features simulate the changing moods of the characters. His voice shifts from masculine bass to feminine treble and back. His arms and hands are seldom idle, and he suits the action to the word to the action in the style Hamlet prescribed for the troupe at Elsinore. At one point, he asks for a cup of wine and swallows it slowly before resuming. The recital lasts for more than an hour and ends with a description of the departure of Gawain. Before the contour retires, several questions are put to him as to the meaning of this or that. He replies that he will have the answers next evening if he is permitted to continue the story. One of the clerics challenges him as to the location of the furnishings of the castle, which are quite different from those described by another contour whom he had heard several months before. The minstrel replies tactfully that in King Arthur's time God had ordained a periodic change in the sites and customs of the castles visited by the knights of the Round Table, so that they would not find their lives too monotonous. The answer satisfies everyone present, and the Lord calls a page and bids him fit the minstrel with a pair of stout shoes and give him a warm mantle. Shortly after, the company breaks up, while the menials put out the torches and stretch themselves out on the benches to sleep. The derivation of an early Arthurian romances, more or less directly from the repertory of the wandering contours, explains two of the most striking characteristics of the genre, their episodic structure and their lack of consistency. Jesse Weston commented on the incoherence of the stories about Gawain. In the first continuation of the Conte del Grail, wrote, "There is no logical, much less inevitable sequence in the tales. If the relative position of the stories were altered, e.g., if Gawain visited the Grail Castle before he won the Chastel or Guelos, or after he achieved the adventure of the Shield, the story would be no whit less interesting or more effective. Even in the part of the Conte de Grail which Chrétien de Troyes wrote himself, the adventures of Gawain are loosely held together and bear no relation to the preceding adventures of Parsifal. The episodic structure is a natural consequence of the origin of the romances in separate and more or less independent contes. Each contrived to hold the interest of the courtly listeners for a single sitting of an hour or two. Poets of the more naive sort were content to string these episodes together without any regard to unity of the plot, and the only satisfactory excuse for Chrétien's own occasional lapses in continuity in the hypothesis that he has following the outline provided by a predecessor, indifferent to the claims of coherence, through some Arthurian poems, are marvels of architectonic skill, such as Chrétien's Elaine and English Gawain and the Green Knight. The charge of loose organisation is one which can justly be brought against many typical romances of the Round Table. The other inevitable consequence of the derision of romances from itinerant contours ranging over France, England, southern Scotland, and wherever French was understood, each with its own repertory, is inconsistency. It accounts, at least in some measure, for the gross discrepancies between the versions of the Grail quest, which have already noted in accounts in part for the fact that characters are differently conceived, and the hero of one author receives shabby treatment from another. Morgan le Fay may be the most beautiful of 9 sister enchantresses and the nurse of her brother Arthur in Avalon, or she may be an ugly crone whose plot is death. The adventure of the beheading test, familiar to readers of Gawain and the Green Knight, may be credited to Caradoc or Lancelot in other versions. When a compiler brought together into a continuous narrative a number of tales which he had heard from various sources, he was bound to involve himself in strange inconsistencies, and it was the aim of the more intelligent authors to remedy this defect. We find Thomas, the Anglo-Norman court poet, declaring that among those who won't tell the story of Tristan, there was great diversity. Lords, he exclaims, this Conte is right. variously related, and therefore I have harmonized in my verses. No episode in the whole vast body of Arthurian romance is handled in more diverse ways than the visit to the Grail Castle. Even when the details are similar, the animating conception may be totally different. Over 70 years ago, Alfred Nutt wisely declared, "The many forms of the incident found in the Grail romances are not variant of one, and that an orderly, logical original. They testify to the fact that in the body of popular tradition, which forms the basis of these romances, the incident of the visit to the magic castle was a common one, that it entered into the thread of stories, somewhat similar in outline and frequently centered in the same hero, but differing essentially in conception, and that the forms in the romances are most likely to keep close to the traditional model, are those secondary ones with which the innovating spirit, whether due to the genius of the individual artist or intruding Christian symbol, has least concerned itself." Oh, oops. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does, mate. But these phenomena, so characteristics of the Arthurian romances, are by no means unique. In the development of the Homeric poems, the rhapsodies, the professional entertainers of ancient Greece, and the counterparts of the conteurs, Gilbert Murray, referring to the Iliad and the Odyssey, wrote, "Our poems are full of the traces of the rhapsody. They are developments from the recited saga, and where they fail in unity or consistency, the recited saga is mostly to blame. Nothing better explains, then, some of the typical features of Arthurian romance in its early stages, its episodic, loose structure, its glaring inconsistencies, than the fact that it was based on numberless short contes, which formed the stocking trade of wandering conteurs. But there are other remarkable features of this body of fiction which provoke questions and demand an explanation. Why were these French-speaking conteurs so devoted to the glorification of a British chief and his warriors, who had lived in the remote past and who had left little or no record of themselves in the pages of history? Why this passionate concern with the love of Tristan, nephew of a Cornish king, for Iseult, an Irish princess? Why this interest in the Welsh youth Percival, his naive blunders and his mysterious experiences at the castle of the Fisher King? The answer is highly significant and leads to the solution of many problems. Evidence, both external and internal, combines to show that the conteurs of the 12th and early 13th century were in the main Bretons, descendants of those Britons who in the 5th and 6th century, as a result of the Anglo-Saxon invasion, had emigrated to Armorica, which we now know as Brittany. Through intercourse with their continental neighbours, they had become largely bilingual and had French to their native speech, and had added French to their native speech, which was akin to Welsh. Today, their descendants in Western Brittany remain largely bilingual. The Norman poet Wace in 1155 said that the Bretons of his time told many tales of the Round Table. Giraldus Cambrensis descended on his mother's side from the kings of South Wales, attributed not to his own countrymen, but the Wallenses, but to the fabulosi Britones et Eorum cantors. The storytelling Bretons and their singers, the legend of an imaginary goddess Morganis, who conveyed Arthur to Avalon for healing. Many names embedded in Arthurian literature are of Briton origin. Bedier detected the following in the Tristan romances: Perinis, Rivalen, Hoel, Denoalen, and three are others. Then there are others. In Chrétien's work, one finds Brienne, Gandalus, Gandalus is what Gandalf, Guigamore, Rinderans, and two of his heroes, Eric and Yvain, bear Breton names. And the name Lancelot has been recognised by the best authorities as influenced by the name Lancelin, recorded in Brittany as early as 1034. Thus, in spite of possible exceptions, it appears that the conquerors who first spread the matter of Britain throughout the French-speaking world were Bretons. Unfortunately, no literature in the Breton tongue has survived from this period, and the early Latin works record the deeds of Arthur, which may be attributed to Breton authorship, are saints' lives, and do not belong to the category of romantic fiction cultivated by the contours. It has also been urged against the theory of Breton's provenance that the culture of Brittany was too crude and sterile to produce so vital, prolific, and enthralling a mass fiction as the stories of the Round Table, the Romance of Tristan, and the Mysteries of the Grail. To this objection, it may be replied that two of the greatest geniuses of the period, Abelard and Adam of St. Victor, were Bretons, and in the opinion of the latest authorities, Geoffrey of Monmouth, the learned and clever fabricator of the pseudo-history which raised Arthur to rank of a Charlemagne or Caesar, was, though born in Wales, of Breton descent. Of course, the talents of the conteurs were not in the same category as those of Abelard or Geoffrey of Monmouth, and the fascination which they exercised over their listeners must have been due more to the startling novelty of their matter and the historic arts of gesture and intonation with which they mimicked the action and speech of the characters and the logical planning of their narratives. Though their talents must have varied greatly from individual to individual, they were not far from contemptible, and according to Peter of Blois, himself of Breton parentage, said sad tales of Arthur, Gawain, and Tristan moved their audiences to tears. Now, it goes almost without saying that the preoccupation with Arthur and with events long since past in Arthur's Britain was due to the fact that the conteurs were descended from those Britons, Arthur's countrymen, who had emigrated centuries before to Amorica. Even after the lapse of 600 years, the Bretons still cherished the hope that he was alive and would return as a Messiah to win back their ancestral home. In Brittany, anyone who disputed this belief was in danger of stoning. Fucking hell. Oops. But though the Breton expectation of Arthur's return was the object of condescending smiles and derision throughout the non-Celtic West and Italy, the conteurs succeeded with the aid of Geoffrey of Monmouth's pseudo-history in establishing throughout the same territory the concept of Arthur as a model of chivalry and the belief of Arthur's reign as a golden age. If asked how the Bretons, whose ancestors had left Britain 600 years before, came to possess such a rich fund of fantastic stories about the legendary king and the knights and ladies of the court, the answer is not difficult. They took over from the storytellers of Cornwall and Wales, their remote cousins, who spoke almost the same language as the Bretons, and like them, passionately devoted to the memory of Arthur. Unfortunately, the early vernacular literature of Cornwall, like that of Brittany, has perished. In the famous collection of medieval Welsh tales entitled the Mabinogion, only two of the five concerned with Arthur and his knights, Culhwch and the Dream of Rhonabwy, are native inspiration. Only these two and some very obscure poem remain to us as the purely insular tradition attached to the British hero. Cheers, mate. A cursory Perusal of these remains dating from the 10th to the 13th century is likely to leave the impression that there is little in common between the Welsh tradition and the French romances of the Arthurian cycle, and some reputable scholars have denied any significant Celtic contribution to the great body of European fiction of the Round Table. As a matter of fact, however, it requires no microscopic examination of Culhwch and Olwen, written down about the year 1100, to discover some clear resemblance to Chrétien's poems, composed 60 or years or more later. Culhwch, I think that's how it's said, sets out for Arthur's court. Kai, on hearing of his arrival, counsels against his admission, but is promptly rebuked by Arthur. Culhwch then rides on horseback into Arthur's hall, where the king and his warriors are at meat, and that asks a boon, which Arthur grants. Likewise, Chrétien's juvenile hero, Parsifal, sets out for Arthur's courts and rides on horseback into the hall, where the king and his knights are seated at the table. When Parsifal asks to be made a knight, Arthur consents. Kay, however, mocks the youth and is promptly rebuked by Arthur. Another striking parallel is afforded to Culhwch's meeting with a herdsman clad in skins and surrounded by a great flock of sheep. When Culhwch reveals his errand, the herdsman warns him to proceed no farther. Compare this with the scene in Chrétien's Yvain. Calogrenant meets a herdsman clad in hides and surrounded by bulls. When he reveals his purpose, the herdsman warns him of a perilous adventure. Here, then, are two obvious correspondence between the Welsh romance and the poems of Chrétien. Correspondences which can be accounted for only by the hypothesis of transmission of Welsh themes to France. That the transmitters were Bretons is suggested at least by the fact that the meeting of Calogrenant with the herdsman is localized in the forest of Brocéliande in Brittany, and to these resemblances the fact that other figures mentioned in Culhwch, Bedwyr, Llen Llewellyn, Edern, and Gwenhwyvar reappear in Chrétien's work at Bedwyr. Lancelot, Ida, and Guinevere there can be no reasonable doubt of the French poet's indirect debt to Welsh fiction. If we extend our search to texts other than Culhwch, we find that two poems of the 10th or 11th century furnish us with names of Uther Pendragon and Mabon, which are familiar in French romance, with the monster Caf Paluk, which turns up as the monster Chapalou in several French texts. And as well will be shown in chapter 9 with a description of the island castle of the in the island of the castle of the ageless elders, which anticipates that Perlesvaus, the first four tales in the Lady Guest Mabinogion, which were composed about 1060, though they do not introduce Arthur or immediately recognizable counterparts of persons associated with him, provide nevertheless, on closer study, the originals of certain outstanding characters in Arthurian literature, and particularly, as we shall discover, in the romances of the Grail. It is of great significance for the investigation of the origins of this matter of Britain to realise that just as the Breton tales drew largely on Welsh tradition, so the Welsh tales in turn drew largely on material preserved to us in the Irish sagas. Let me quote Sir Ifor Williams. Ifor Williams? That's where he makes trailers. Contacts between the two nations, Ireland and Wales, in the early centuries of our era down to the 12th century were many and close. Irish tales were borrowed and retold in Welsh with minor modifications. The theme of the beheading test, which occurs in the English masterpiece Gawain and the Green Knight, and was used independently by 4 French romancers, was proved by Kitteridge and Alice Buchanan to have its source in Irish traditions, preserved in the 8th century saga of the Feast of Bricriu. And though no intermediate Welsh form has survived, there are in the poem clear vestiges of Welsh transmission. Furthermore, Arthur's sword, called in English Excalibur and in French Calibourg, goes back to a Welsh Caledwch, which in turn derives from the Irish Caladbolg. There are many more clues to the origin of French Arthurian romances than those mentioned in the preceding pages, and they should leave little doubt that the early romancers derived much, if not most, of their material through the Breton conteurs from Wales, and that some of it went back to even to Ireland. No wonder Kitteridge declared, "Something produced a great change in the literature of France in the 12th century. This is to say, in the literature of the Western world, for at no assignable time could French literature have been charged with more momentous consequences to the course of European literary history. That something professes to be the emptying into French literature of a large body of Celtic material, not a little leaven, but a large mass, operating with extraordinary rapidity and with an effect still traceable not only in ways but even in such obvious phenomena as the externals of plot and dramatis personae. The specific results of our study are to emphasize once more that the importance of Irish material, and even of modern Irish folklore, in settling these questions. They fall in with what is coming to be more and more recognized as the correct view. The opinion that a considerable amount of the Celtic material that made its way into France actually came from Ireland, and further that the function of Wales as an intermediary must not be overlooked, simply because early Welsh traditions are sparingly preserved. If this impressive dictum by one of the most learned of writers on medieval literature holds good for Arthurian romance as a whole, the presumption is that it holds good for the stories of the Grail quest, which form a branch of the Arthurian cycle. Well, there you go. That is chapter 2 of the Grail, from Celtic myth to Christian symbol. And I just want to add to that I heard a long time ago, because I've been interested in the Grail and King Arthur for a long time, that basically when the Normans, the Norman conquest, most of the people in England that weren't the original Britons were Anglo-Saxon. So like King Alfred the Great and stories like him. Cheers, Tracy. Thank you, love. They obviously didn't want them to be recognised within the Anglo-Saxon community, so they basically brought the stories of Arthur to the forefront because they were the people before the Anglo-Saxons who obviously invaded England, and they didn't want to have some sort of revival in the Anglo-Saxon tradition. So the Normans used the Bretons as a way of like bigging up Arthur to keep the Saxons at bay. But also Tracy's brilliant London. She's a personal friend of mine. So with that because of the also the Brittany, Cornwall, Wales, even Somerset, like on the flag of Somerset, actually, it's quite interesting because I've seen 2 different flags of Somerset, and we were always told that on the Somerset flag it's got a wyvern, which is it's like a dragon, but it's not got arms. It's got wings like a bat with little hands on the wings. But the Somerset flag actually has a dragon, but also, see, there's a few different versions of it. It's yellow background with a red dragon. But this one here, it's very interesting. Look at that. Yeah, it's not a griffin. It's not a griffin. Hey, Layla, can you see that? Is it too bright? Yeah. So that one is holding a scepter. Oh, that's all right, mate. Thank you for coming by. It's holding a scepter and it's a dragon. And the reason why it's a dragon is because I've also heard and read that Somerset is the most Celtic place in the whole of the British Isles, rather than it being like Wales, Cornwall, whatever. That Somerset is, and it all sort of fits into place with that because, I mean, the stuff I've been finding around here is fucking old, and it just the scepter thing. It, it is interesting with that, and also King Arthur had a red dragon and the Saxons had a white dragon. So it's also harking back to King Arthur. So I don't know why. I mean, all that together is pretty interesting. Whereas the wyvern, which we're told, it clearly isn't a wyvern because a wyvern is a. No, I'm wearing dungarees. Tracy, you know all these people. Tracy, brilliant. So from that, I take a lot of sort of personal pride with Somerset being, maybe the most Celtic place in Britain. I don't know if that's true or not, but it all fits in together, and it makes me. It does. It's what gives me a little bit more strength to carry on with my paradise story, which seems to be never ending for me to be able to produce. But once I have done it, I think it will get people talking at least, and whether or not Joseph of Arimathea, Mary Magdalene, the Holy Grail came here first, whether they came here or not. But there's quite a lot of different resources to find out about this. So it's something I am doing. I just I want it to be right, if you know what I mean. I don't want to just like, I look at your stuff, London, and I think to myself, I know I can do it. It's just getting my head around the editing bit. For example, it's on that phone. I basically went around and took pictures of everywhere. And so what I intend to do is just do like a slideshow and talk over the top to start it off with. But I did this video in Glastonbury earlier, and it's quite interesting because this is what it shows. I don't know if you'll be able to see it properly. Well, I've not been this way before. It's a back way through Glastonbury tour, showing you the Green Man of Well. And that's depicting King Arthur. And that's the round table. And sorry, Glastonbury tour, waiting for the day. Waiting for the day when England's at its darkest hour, or Britain. I would say Britain rather than England because England's a bit more of a Anglo-Saxon and then Norman sort of makeup things. But yeah, I mean, I'm not far from that. I'm not that far from you now, Tracy. Oh, you're not very far from me then either, because Tracy's just down the road from me. Hey Tracy, have you got the thing on tomorrow? Because actually, for a change, I'm able to go. Oh, nice. Oh, mango. Money and his mango. Wow, 50 minutes. Can't believe it. That's gone pretty quick. But the story will continue. I liked your video earlier, Jax. I've been seeing these Kembos, I've been told they're called. Wiltshire. Ooh. Right. We all need to catch up because Warminster slap bang in the middle of the whole Wiltshire environs. Second week in August, right. So and this whole area, Wiltshire, because I was saying to someone the other day, I've got a theory, and this might sound stupid, but I don't think it is. And considering the company I'm with here, we've all got ideas and stuff that are quite different from the mainstream. So my idea was that how can I put it? I reckon that they're because of the mounds and everything I found just down the road. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. Yeah, that's why we've got to keep it alive, man. So I reckon they came in from France to Dorset, the door to set, through Dorset, through Wiltshire, round, up through Glastonbury, through to here on a procession. And I honestly believe, well, I think it just came to me. So it's like with a lot of the things I sort of imagine or think up, that basically the sunset, when the sun sets here, Suma, set, the door to set, and Suma, so Sumeria, set. All the stones I found on the maps, all the history I found showing clearly. And then also all of these little hills, they've all got some kind of quarry going on from the stuff we learned from what Paul Cook had said about liquid stones and everything. I honestly believe it has all been built. In fact, I went to a place near Wookey Hole, which is just down the road from Wells and Glastonbury, and they actually said, some guy said that there's a burger van. I noticed this thing, like a knockdown buildings and signs. So I said to the guy, what's that over there? It's a quarry. I was like, oh yeah. And he goes, quite interesting actually. He goes, people have seen load of lorries with tanks on the back going into this quarry. There's these massive metal doors, and then they never come out again. Well, I looked on Google Earth, it's right by this one quarry, is right by this really ancient quarry. And I reckon it's an entrance. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got Westbury and everything. And if like from the stuff I'd learned from Ashrayan Dean, she talks about the Vale of Pewsey, Stonehenge, Westbury. They're all very important places. Stargates, inner earth portals. And there's a map called the Ark Hub Gates, which I've got to I'm trying to buy, but when I look online, you can't get close enough in to see it because this south area of Britain is literally full. I mean, I'll try and show you. Yeah. Well, get this right. I used to work with a guy. I used to work in a pub, Westbury. Yeah. And I've been up the top of Westbury Hill, and there's loads of army stuff up there, isn't there? I went up there on the way back from Avery with my friend Sam. We were like, no way. There's loads of stuff up the top of Westbury Hill. And once again, yeah, exactly. And all the stuff they're trying to do underneath Stonehenge. But this Ark Hub Gates map, it's like I can't zoom in on it close enough. Hub Gates map. Oh, it says hug. Gates map. Right. Hang on. Hopefully we'll be able to see. Arc. Hub. Gates. Map. Images. Come on. Ooh. What the fuck is this? Oh, damn. Oh, nice one, Tracy. I'll catch up with you soon. How's Alex doing? Yeah, exactly. I collect maps. I've got loads of maps, but also there's this thing called the Somerset HER Wells Barrow Stones. There you go, and that's what I'm all about. Wells is where Brookie Hole is. Barrow is what Barrow where we live is called. Oh, there you go. That's brilliant. Oh, fair shout. I'm really pleased for him. And stones. There's literally. I can show you in 1 second. There's stones everywhere. There's stones all across Somerset. I would imagine Wiltshire as well, but I haven't been able to. Here we go. Right. So I haven't been able to find. It's not going to want to show me this. It's called the Halls of Amente. Here we go. Don't worry, let me do it. I know they do, mate. Check this out. I'll show you here clearly now. Somerset HER. I will imagine they've got one for Wiltshire, but North Somerset haven't got one. Wiltshire might not have one because obviously all the stuff there. Right, and I'll show you this quickly. This whole area is littered with stones. And I found some of the remnants on the golf course, the old White Horse. Yeah. So there you go. Right. At Burnham-on-Sea, where the river came in, it shows on this old map. I mean, even this shows the old what the golf course was like before, and some of the mounds. One of the mounds even looks like a serpent, like the serpent mound in Ohio. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, on this map here, it shows Burnham Seafront, and I found this book. You can just, I reckon you'll be able to see it very well. Yeah, there actually. Let me do it. Yeah, golf. This one, I've got there's a video on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, with showing the mounds on the golf course because I don't think there's no argument with it. It's blatant because it was called Barrow, and someone who's very high up in this whole sort of scenario told me that if it's called Barrow, it means there's more than one Barrow, and I found 8, at least 8. Oh, come on, you fucker! No, let me go. Is it? Oh well. I'll have a look. And I'll have a look another time. I'll try and show you another time. because this is like, it says in massive letters, stones. And there's at least 25 standing stones. On another video, I found the remnants of them. But in a book, an old book on Somerset, it says along where the beach ends and the River Parrett is formed, all the way along the River Parrett, there is it says large, massive white stones. And it said they were put there by King Alfred. Now I think they're way, way, way older than that. Way older than that. And even the ruins, like if you go across the levels here to where we live, to a big hill called Brentnall, another one called Breen Down, there's at least 100 standing stones across the whole of this area. And then you go throughout the whole of Somerset, like in Glastonbury, where Tracy, right by where Tracy used to live as a girl. Me and Tracy, yeah, that's it, the old Ordnance Survey map. It's the very first Ordnance Survey map. And I want to go to, there's a place in Somerset where you can actually see the proper thing. And then also on this Somerset HR, it shows the 1948, the RAF took pictures of the whole of Britain. The whole of Britain is filmed on pictures, and I'm sure you can see where these stones were. And I've actually been out to places across the levels where my friend's farm is, and you can see exactly where they were, because the old green system, they're still exactly the same. They've never changed, not like roads, they're completely the same. And there's big chunks out of the bank where they were. Now these stones have got to be, I mean, I reckon they're fucking way, way, way old. This is the whole thing. Yeah, exactly, Tracy. Yeah, she's back. We found it right by where Tracy grew up, and where this stone was. There's just a big concrete poured in, like literally a flat area. Yeah. Well, a map showing all the pictures, you can clearly see where these stones are, and then they've all been removed. And there's these big chunks out of the map. There's these big chunks out of the banks of the ditches where these stones were. And you know, I have found on Burnham Seafront where there were remnants of some stones. I even found one section of the old sea wall, which people say, yeah, exactly. People say it's all washed in, but it's literally an old section of the sea wall with a standing stone encased in it. You can clearly see where they just obviously chucked it all down and got rid of all what they could, but it's still there. This stone is still there, and some of the old stones are still there. They've broken them down. Yeah, exactly. All this stuff, National Trust, English Heritage, they all work together. They've got all the best sites, and everything that's worth seeing is gone. But if you look hard enough, if you go off the beaten track, you can find these quarries with massive lime kilns. There's one in Sanford, just up the road from where Tracy lives, and there's basically the biggest lime kiln I've ever seen. It's massive. It's huge. It's like a castle. It's that big. Yeah, exactly. They do, and it's our jobs to try and show people what. I mean, I don't know exactly who built them or whatnot, but I do know that if they got tanks going into this fucking quarry and not coming back out again, and we all heard about stories about underground ambulances, fire engines, and all that. I reckon the whole of the Mendips was built. I reckon there's tunnels going throughout the whole thing underneath the ground here, because where I am now, well, not where I am now, but you go in about half a mile, you're under sea level. And so that means that the water table is really high. You shouldn't be able to go down underneath it. But there's stuff right way down, way past. Like I was in Glastonbury today. There's a reservoir in Glastonbury Tor. There's a reservoir in Brent Knoll. There's a reservoir in Breen Down. And my friend told me he went down and like a waterworks opening. Yeah, exactly, mate. Because there's you get put off with stuff, and you think it ain't going right, but I take a lot from London Man and his work because his AI book is really like spot on. Whereas all my stuff's all a little bit sound. It's awful. Yeah, I reckon. Well, Tracy, I there's a guy called Jeff Stray, and he done some things called the Tunnels of Avalon. And I heard that some waterworks guys found an entrance in, not the normal way in. And when they come out, they got basically sectioned because what they said was down there. They were saying there's this, that, and the other, and they obviously lost their mind. But they hadn't. They just said what was down there, and they sectioned them because they couldn't have them saying what was down there because they didn't want us to know. That's why all the yeah, I would definitely. I mean, London's is the macro really compared to what I'm doing as a micro because mine's just pretty much around this area, but it all links in together. And I think that I haven't got a clue what's down there. I mean, I think it will literally. It's so much that we won't. That's why these guys got sectioned because what they saw. They said what they saw, and it was too much, and they couldn't have it out there. So it's like putting it all together bit by bit. I know I'll get there. It's just getting the right. It's having the patience really with the careful what I ask for. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I think it was all. I think it's all interlinked. Definitely. Definitely. Shit. Sorry, Tracy and Jack. Better make you to moderators. Tracy, I know you're a good moderator. Jax. There you go. Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. Well, we should go out and actually we'll go out Peril for a week last year. Yeah, exactly. Well, once again, Port means door or beach or port, but it means door. Perrin, I think. I mean, in seeking the unknown, are you prepared for what you might find? I'm open to anything. I just, I'm a sponge. I'm blue, dabby, dabby, da. Exactly. I'm a sponge for learning about stuff, and I think it's like, I think within us we already know, but it's hard to tap into that. With that stuff. That's no worries, guys. It's hard to tap into that all that stuff. So I I'm open to anything really. That's right, Tracy. Love anytime. Um, I'm um I'm really interested because I think whatever it is that's down there, which they're stopping us from finding out about, will literally raise us. Yeah, well, I think it will raise us to such an extent that they can't have it. They can't have us knowing what we're really all about. I believe that we were all like humans were angelic, and the forces of bad have like done their level best on a multi-level attack on us all. Yeah, Saint Piran, yeah, the patron saint of Cornwall, yeah. So it's like the door to Piran, but obviously Saint Piran is a Christian thing. Cornwall is one of the most Christian parts of the UK. It's full of saint stuff for a reason, because it's all sat on all the old pagan stuff, and they can't have pagans, can they? Yeah, I know what you mean. What you think? Oh, I think magic. I just think that if we were to know what really is out there, etc., then it would empower us, wouldn't it? Because the whole dogma and everything else, like Cornwall, it's the same. Everything is the same. But some of the older stuff. I mean, from the Golden Age project, which is one of my like inspirations. they talk about an astronomical observatory on Bodmin Moor. And the reason Cornwall is called Cornwall is not nothing to do with a wall of corn. It's actually the land of the cairns. And there's so much stuff in Cornwall that it's literally, I mean, this whole island of England, these islands, in fact, are so dense with history. Um, and when you look at this Ark Hub Gates map, I mean, I need to get a copy of it. It's only like I don't know, $10, but it's like 30 quid to have it sent over. So I'm trying to find a cheaper way of doing it. But once I can get a close up look of this southwestern part of England that we've got here, there's so much stuff on it. It's inner Earth portals, stargates, fuck knows what else there is. There's all sorts of stuff, and they are desperate for us not to know. And there you go. So that is it. I would get 1 hour, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. I think it's time to call it a night. I've had a nice day. I've had some nice synchronicities. Define magic. Ooh. I didn't even know that. Oh, hang on. Stones everywhere in Cornwall. People use them in garden. Exactly. And exactly. That's what they've done. That's what they've done here. There you go. I think the whole. It's really going now. I should say. Yes, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I will get hold of Alex. And I'll try and be there in a couple of weeks, Tracy. I'm sorry I haven't been to any for ages because I've just not been very well, to be fair. And I'm sort of coming back bit by bit, but every day is a bit of a struggle, or it tends to be. Something happens, doesn't it? But you've got to try and keep going. But and the magic thing, I don't even know that magic. I think I think magic has been sort of tainted with stuff. I think we're all capable of things that you could call magic, like telekinesis, telepathy, or divination. Psychic abilities. I have dreams which literally the next day something always goes on. Something that's so like random in my dream. Like I see someone I've never had a dream about once seen since school, dream about, and the next day I'll see them. Always something like that happens, and there's always something linked in with the dreams. And also now I'm so like deep into animism, which is basically it's the interaction between the animal world and us. Exactly, mate. Exactly. That's pretty much what I am. That's why I'm called manifestor because I can literally, I don't have to think about things too. I don't even have to like, I've never once gone, oh, please, I want to get one of these. Something will come up in my mind, I'll look into it, look online. Um, yeah, highly intuitive. Look online, and then the next day, if I go to charity shop, there'll be one. If it's not brand new, it's in perfect condition, but a fraction of the price, or it will just turn up. Literally, it will just turn up. Um, two things of many things like that. One was I was looking at a, a kind of a bag called a Molly, which is a army bag, American army bag. I was about to buy one on the bushcraft site on Facebook. Had to go to Glastonbury, go through a village called Brentnall, and I looked at the corner of my eye. I thought, hey, stopped, went over. Someone was giving us some stuff away out front of the house. It was one of these bags, and I literally was about to buy it. And another time, my friend Reva, we were talking, I was showing her my first aid kit the night before, and she said, yeah, you could do a couple of these things. And then, honestly, it was down the beach. I was dowsing for some, I was looking for, because I found some big amounts of quartz. Dowsing around looking for this quartz stone I found before. Turn around and there's a bag just on the shore. So I thought, that's the rods. Yeah, go over there. And I was like, I didn't fucking believe it. It was a Southwestern Ambulance Paramedics kit. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, that's beyond manifesting. I just want a space blanket and a couple of things. I got a whole paramedics kit. You know, what are the fucking chances? And that's why I'm manifesting, because I seem to be able to manifest the stuff. Don't always manifest exactly what I want, but I never ever be like, oh, I want this, I want to manifest this. I just have to look into it on my phone, be interested in it, have a little look, and it turns up. Always, it's something, always one thing or another, it always seems to turn up. So I would say don't ever try and manifest anything, because I think this whole manifestation sort of narrative is actually not really that good. I don't think you should be constantly trying to get everything for free. Thank you, Edna. Um, like me personally, if I'm at a charity shop or mm, charity shop car boot sale, obviously not something that's going to cost me a lot of money, so I haven't got much money, but um, you know, yeah, I like the look at this. Yeah, so if I see something my friends will want, I'll get it for them always, and I think that helps with the manifestation, because I'm not trying to manifest shit for myself. I might have manifested it for one of my friends, and I'll get it for them, and I think that goes down well with the whole, you know, if you don't give, you won't get, and it ain't like a give to get type thing. Yeah, there you go, exactly, and it's like I said, nine. I mean, this is a prime example. Another great. Oh no, I've got an even better example. So up the woods where my friends' woods are, we basically. I went up there in January, and it's quite difficult fetching, carrying, and retrieving large amounts of wood for the fire. And I thought to myself, I want to make like a backpack with shoulder straps on a like a laundry basket, right? And we went to charity shop, and I said to Rob about it before we went in there. And honestly, once again, I don't know why it surprises me, because it always happens. There was like a football ball bag. There you go. There you go. A football bag for carrying the balls with. They're just usually like a thing. But this one had shoulder straps. It was perfect. And I literally just said to Rob, "Oh, I'd love it if I could fucking." There you go. If I could find something like that, and I found something better than that, and it was like £2 or something like that, but it's perfect for collecting wood. It's a big for carrying footballs, but it's actually got two shoulder straps, so rather than having to lug it all about, it was perfect. And it's just the way it goes, I suppose. I think some of us are maybe a bit more tapped in than others. I think once again, like what Layla said about what is magic or define magic. I think like what someone said a minute ago, it's all within us, but you have to believe. Because if you don't believe, it's never going to happen, is it? It's like with dowsing rods and whatnot. My nephew Blas, brilliant with them like me. My nephew Tom, who was like, couldn't get on with them. So you have to have an element of belief, And I know for a fact that dowsing does work. It does definitely work. I found stuff about, I do a lot of dowsing just to live my life. Don't douse everything, but certain things I do check beforehand. And there is something with dowsing. I would advise anyone who's got this sort of belief in divination, whatever you want to call it, look into it, because it can help. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm ever actually seeking it. I just have to like think about it. It's not really like, okay, with that one bag, for instance. Um, I was going to go and buy one. So I was lucky that I didn't have to. $28.99 wasn't a massive amount of money, but for free, saved me 30 quid. Hey Max, how you doing, mate? But with uh, with bigger stuff, I mean, I think you can get carried away with trying to manifest everything because there's a little bit of maybe start to get a bit lazy. Like I've heard someone say, I tried to manifest the fuck out of it, and I'm like, that isn't the way to manifest anything by manifesting the fuck out of it, you know. And guess what? Uh, there you go. There you go. There you go. It's it's amazing, It's but you have to. I do honestly, strongly believe you have to believe in any of these things because if you don't really believe in it, it's not going to work, is it? I mean, I haven't done enough of it yet, but I do. I try and tune into Max's stuff about the remote viewing, because once again, I think it's a fascinating thing, which if used with the right way, used in the right way, can be amazing. Um, but I haven't been able to do it quite so much yet. Um, but also, it's important what you said about that, Jax, because my friend Onions, he was saying to me the other day, I was like, I love the like end of the line stuff in the like this, the ticket, yellow ticket, um, and I'd like sometimes I'd get loads of it, and then he was like, no, you should just get what you need and leave it for other people. And I was like, oh fuck me, yeah, good point. Rather than being greedy and having it all. So I think that's a very definite thing. That's what abundance is. Exactly what you need, no more, no less. Too much is greed, too little is lack. So when they say about abundance, it's exactly what you need, no more, no less. I was just showing I would about it. It's a bit difficult because sometimes the times overlap with stuff, So um, it's sometimes hard to keep up with different people's channels on YouTube because of the time difference. But this is one of my tarot cards as I painted, Temperance. Pretty pleased with this one. It's come out quite well. There's definitely you can see the difference from when I first started doing them. So these was one of the later ones. This one here is the Emperor, which is me. I'm a bit older. Captain Chaos, on the throne. And then I've done this one recently, just like it didn't take very long because it shouldn't do anyway. It's the Green Man. Yeah. I've done the whole major arcana and painted them. I'm not with the minor arcana, so there's a Green Man. Cheers, mate. So I'm just I've got a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, I love the Green Man as well. It's really I think it's important for people. Thank you. I think it's important for people especially in Britain and Ireland. Green Man. Um, it's like that's what I mean about animism. I am literally yeah, and animism. I basically I've been looking for this part of the Mendip Hills for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah, exactly. It is dreaming. It is. I've listened to lots and lots of tarot. I don't take them all as like connected to me. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they seriously are. Certain people, some of the things they come out with are so like directly connected to me. But I think that uh, this is what how my mind has worked about it. That with this 144,000 that they talk about, the 12 tribes of 12,000, that there's potentially with this twin flame thing, there's like 144,000 people going through the same thing all over the world at the same time. Slightly different to wherever you are, but I think that's how a lot of the times at these readings they can be so specific for many people because we're all going through the same thing in a different place, but it's the same. It's the same story maybe. So that's how. And then yeah, I thought it's like it's such an interesting such interesting stories within these things. I want to get I want to get good at art. Yeah, it is in the air. I reckon it is over. I want to get like I couldn't do any art before February last year. I couldn't. I had been told by two very gifted psychic mediums and a Reiki lady, please embrace art. Your future is in art. I was like, everything else they said I resonated with, and it all came to pass. But the art thing, I was like, there's no point. I'm absolutely dog. I say, and I even got that wrong. I said to it to someone the other day, I couldn't draw a stick dog having a shit. And what I actually said was I couldn't draw a stick shit having a. And the woman goes, having a dog. I was like, yeah, that's it. She got me straight away. Exactly. And that's what they said to me as well. They said, you don't have to be painting portraits and pictures. It could be flower arranging. He said, you're a chef. He goes, every time you make any food, you're presenting it as a work of art. And I thought, yeah, still no. But I've got a talent for it. But I I honestly, I was so like dismissive of my own capabilities. Like so I was 38. I came into the band with my mates. We got three proper music videos. Our last one won a quite well-known award, the Venus Awards. That was it. Thank you. So one of the ladies I've been listening to lately said that the music was related. Something was related to Venus, and our music video won a Venus award. And I couldn't remember what it was because I was going to put the link onto her thing to say, "Is this what you mean?" Because she said it's directly connected to Venus. So I was like, "Fucking hell!" In fact, guys can see it if you want, if it'll work. If it won't go, right, it's a good tune. But yeah, I mean, and our latest one, which I think is even better, the producer and director Jack, um, he's been invited to go along to another a film festival in America. Although he's got to pay like no, not a lot, like $5.99. Um, yeah, that, like is it? Not gonna work properly. What happened there?
Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome.
I saw a video by the screen, something changed in me. It was amazing, just inspirational. That's brilliant. What's the sanity machine? Is that a YouTube channel? But what I will say is, with the mojo thing, is find something you're interested in, something you'd like really like to do, maybe as an art form, music. It can be anything. I mean, art, the music. I'd always been good at writing. I've always been good at like spoken word. I mean, I just read that chapter there, and that's quite hard for me to do because of my teeth. I've got a lisp, and it's I'm overcoming that. I've overcome that now, and this is helping to overcome it. But with the music, I like writing songs. I can write songs really easy. I can come up with a melody, but I can't put the music side to it. So if it wasn't, oh mate, I'd say I fucking love it, mate. There you go. There you go. Gosh. And do you know what? That's another thing, right? This tattoo, I've had this tattoo for ages, but when it got about here, I was like, oh, fucking hell, it hurts so much, right? And you can see it's half coloured in, half not, the dark and the light. And now it's something I was like, oh, fucking, that happened on purpose because it shows the duality, the dark and the light. But that had to happen. You know, I never went back to get it finished because I just didn't. So with the music, writing songs, I can write songs easy, quick, but it's making. There you go. And those are the obstacles that we create for ourselves. Like I was saying earlier about trying to get this story about paranoid done. I've done it. It's all done. It's all done. It's all there. It's all on my foot on my camera. The only thing is, it's because I live by the sea and it's by the sea. It's often windy, so you get this. The wind comes through when you try and film in places. So I just need to put it all together and then just narrate over the top, and then it'll be done. Because it is like, I admit, like, even for me when I'm listening back, I think, that sounds bloody terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, going through it, it's just off putting, and you can't really understand it. So, but there you go. See, I honestly believe, though I haven't been able to do it yet for a reason. I don't know what that reason is yet, but it's probably so that it makes it like a real good thing. You know, like I say, um, when I watched London's AI Holy AI book, it just fills me with like respect, but also with like that's how I want it to look, like done nicely. Do you know what I mean? He talks over the top of it, so it comes across well. There's no interference from wind or anything else. It's slick. It's all done nicely produced, and it makes you watch it from the start to the finish because it's good. Whereas if it's stuff hopscotched in together with a terrible sound over the top, it's not really that good, is it? Yeah, it's like I'd like to see that Ganesh picture, Drax. I there there's some stuff now. There's some now on Etsy, or there's some other sites I'd imagine you can actually, all you've got to do is upload the pictures. Now I'm lucky enough that I've got friends that they do things for me, you know. And then my friend, I said to him, I want to get all my paintings taken picture of, and he's like, well, if you can bring them to my house, I'll do it for you for free. So it's all there, but basically with the with the tarot, mine, because mine are, some of them are just like the normal tarot, some of them are very different. You know, they're my own thing, it's my own total own thing. So you need to have like a little book with them. So that's the next part. I've just got to write each one. Yeah, there you go. Dragons. Dragons are a big part of my life. I am supposedly I was a dragon. I have been a dragon, and I even know what my name was. My name was, I've been told, and I'll say it like this because I imagine how they would say it. It was Rekior. like on Lord of the Rings. You know, like there's even like a dragon language you have on there. Yes, mate. See, I just gave it away, and then I got it pictured. But because I met the person, and they just from meeting them for one day, they inspired me and told me stuff that was so important to me as someone else totally different. There you go. So on this Etsy, whatever it is, you can, as long as you can upload the stuff, you can actually have it printed on anything, on a drinks bottle, on a mouse mat, on a shower curtain, and it doesn't cost you anything. Basically, you say how much you want for it, they tell you how much they want for it, they ship it, they print it, they do everything. Cheers, Chunk. They ship it, they print it, they do absolutely everything, and it's like doesn't cost you a penny. Doesn't cost you a penny. They just take out what they want from your overall price. So say if you want to say, I don't know, £50 or $50, and they charge you, I don't know, $5.99, then whatever you get after the $5.99 is basically it is yours, and you don't have to lift a finger, because that's one of the hardest things is like, sending stuff out, isn't it? We all know what it's like on YouTube, eBay, and Depop and stuff. If you try and sell a lot of stuff, it is a bit of ball ache going to the post office and boxing it all up and packaging it all, but they do all that for you. So I something once I've got the deck printed and the booklet made, then I will, because I've got all the original, they're all original art. So um, I will either sell them as like print stuff, maybe keep the originals, or sell the originals. I don't know, put towards something else. I don't know, because I've got some other stuff. I've got quite a lot of stuff now that I've been doing, and it's like it really is. Like I say, February last year, I would say to you, I couldn't draw a stick dog having a shit. I couldn't. I had no part of me. Yeah, there's all sorts of. There's so much untapped stuff that we can all do. Like I said, I couldn't do art. I couldn't do art. I was like, nah, there's no point. I just can't do it. I was totally resigned to the fact I could never do it. And now I've made my own tarot deck. I've done like 50 fucking pictures and paintings since February last year. And I tell you what, it's probably one of the main reasons I'm still here today, because I was going through an awful time looking after my dad and, stuck at home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I needed something to channel. Um, I needed something to like stop me from thinking, stop me from thinking about not wanting to be here or whatever it was. Because when I'm doing the art, that's all I'm thinking about. That's all I can concentrate on, and I can spend, Yes, Jack's dreaming. I'd like to see some of your work, mate. That sounds brilliant. Because I done three eyes, and I called it IC. Um, oh, I haven't actually had them printed yet, but when I do, I'll have them on Etsy, I guess. Yeah, it is. It is Chunk. It is Chunk. Um, is that you, my mate Chunk, or is that a different Chunk? And my mate Lee. But yeah, literally, I don't think I'd be here if I hadn't been for art in this last year, because I was at rock bottom, literally. And art not only did it like give me confidence to be able to do other stuff. Oh, JK, hi Joe. Oh, is that Joe Kilduff? Oh, another Joe. Um, like there's nothing more satisfying. Hey Joe, mate, thanks for coming by, bro. I really appreciate what you said to me that time about my little videos and whatnot. I haven't done so many lately. I'm not doing very well, but I'm trying. Oh, I am. I'm persevering and getting through it. Just you know what life can be like. It can. Oh, what I said to Dino earlier. I said the road to recovery is like full of hijacks. Nice. I'll be honest with you. I was at a festival a couple of weeks ago, and I used Posca pens. Um, this is a new one they do. They gave me loads. They gave me loads. They had a thing going on there. I told the woman about it, and she gave me a card. I've hopefully they're gonna showcase my work. She said they will do. I was even going to do like a proper. They had a proper film crew there. They were going to interview me, but I was a bit drunk, and I thought, oh, I don't know. And then it pissed it down the next 2 days, so it didn't happen. But she said, I can assure you that we will be working with you because I've done the whole lot in Posca pens, and she must have given me about 200 quid. Yeah, these ones are brilliant. I mean, I basically because I went to an art shop where I live. Yeah, see, that's nice, Dean. That's nice when that can happen, isn't it? But I've done the whole tarot deck with Posca pens. Maybe the background to this I did actually paint. You can sort of see slightly different, but the actual most of it is done with Posca pens. And she was like, "Wow," she said, "that is brilliant. We will definitely be able to work with you. So even if I just get some load of free, because you already give me about 200 quid worth of pens, if I get a load of free art stuff out of it, I'll be happy days." But you know, the fact that she said that they will, and it's a Mitsubishi pencil company, it's an international art company. She said that they will showcase my work on their website, if not on other things, you know. So it is once again with the manifestation, with being in the right place at the right time, you know, these are real things. That I think if we're of a like good heart, you know, and also we're doing things for other people, not just for ourselves, which I think is probably one of the biggest downfalls of people, is that people are just so selfish, and they literally will do anything just so that they can win, or that they can have one up, or they can have it done for them and not for other people. When you do things for other people with that in your heart, I think that's when these things start happening, you know. And you know, I'm not the only one. I mean, everyone goes through awful stuff. But you know, it's how you deal with it. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are a certain amount of people who are the real ones, and then there's absolutely. I mean, I don't even know how many people are in this world. We're told X, Y, Z, but I think it's more like ABC 1, 2, 3 than X, Y, Z because we ain't got a clue, have we? We're just told. I mean, for where I live, I don't really feel like there's any more people than there was. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel okay. Where I live is a little, maybe it's a bit more. There's more houses and a bit more people, but not like where we live, where Joe lives. Oh well, you don't actually, Joe. You live in the big city, don't you now? But um, or do you? I can't remember. Where Tracy lives, we all we're still a little bit, it's not as built up as like big cities and whatnot. So, but I don't even know that. I don't feel like there is actually that many more people. I don't know. Maybe there is. It's something you've got to be able to like gauge, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I don't know that there is how many people. You know, I mean, most of us are in this, are here listening to this now. I don't know about you, Joe, but I'm sure you'd be open to it. Yeah, I can believe that 100%. Like, I mean, this whole NPC thing is a definite thing. I personally, I think there's a it's such a we're so heavily bombarded with stuff to stop us from reaching our potential. And what you said earlier about is it such a good thing finding out what is going on? I reckon that it would literally propel us up to a new level of consciousness. You know, I I put I put everything down to this. If you haven't got an imagination, then you're an NPC. They're all them people. They've got no imagination whatsoever. You have to have an imagination of pretty epic proportions to be able to just imagine that we could live on a crater Earth, we could live on a flat Earth, we could look have all of it, you know, rather than just having one mono mind that is just this one thing. Anything off of that, crazy, you know. I saw something earlier said the WEF are saying that oh no. Yeah, no, I did not. I know what you mean. It's like, are you ready? You know, you can't handle the truth. Well, I think you need to be able to have the option whether you can handle it or not, don't you? I mean, there might be some stuff that, that might not be such a easy thing to. Yeah. I agree with that, Jax. The whole junk DNA thing. I mean, why was it anything other than like super amazing stuff? Why would you even have a junk DNA? What would be the point of it all? You know, this whole thing, everything has got a grand design, hasn't it? A really grand design. It's like it's not just a case of it all just happened. You know, it's all got an amazing design to it, hasn't it? You know, even down to these flowers. You know, you look at a flower and anything else. There you go, DNA junkie. Um, everything's got like it's perfect, isn't it? And um, and that's one of the big things that we are up against is them trying to replicate what is natural. And unfortunately, we're all sort of in it a little bit, you know, with the phones and everything, the grand architecture. I I uh, Joe's cousin, one of my best mates. We we've been like looking at about how stuff can happen and been doing work to try and maybe have a way out or like look at how you could survive without all the amenities, and it's not going to be easy, but you I think it would hold us all in good stead to do a little bit of homework about plants you can eat. How makes from our air been used in many cultures to take giant trees, mushrooms, cut like the natural sort cut. Was AI programmed, good or bad, like a city forestation as a cause of extinction? Yeah, I mean, there's every single thing has got some mind going on behind it with everything. I was thinking about earlier. I said to my friend was saying to me, had I watched? I can't even remember what it's called. There's something on Netflix. Yeah, exactly. And we're just poo-pooed about stuff now. If we mention anything, tin hat, tin foil hat wearers, whatever you want to call it, we're straight away like they try and make us feel like we're like beneath them, but actually, when you look at it in the bigger picture, those are the ones that I'm open to anything, Jax. I really am. Yeah, even mud flood. I honestly think they coined the term mud flood to make it sound stupid. With all the stuff, everything. There's like a positive and negative thing to it. Like the flat Earth. I can, I can quite easily see how it is a flat Earth, and I'm open to it being a flat Earth. But that's not the be all and end all for me. I actually don't really care anymore about it being flat Earth or globe or anything. It's beside the point in my mind. It's more a fact that um, that I'm open to it being. And you, mate. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you, mate. Thank you. Um, thank you. I'm always quite so peaceful, as you will see in London streams and whatnot. But I think a lot of it with me is because I do have quite good knowledge, general knowledge about stuff, and I do hold knowledge, I hold stuff in quite, just remember stuff, and whether that's from past lives and whatnot, I think could definitely be. But the problem is when you've got a few people talking, because my memory is terrible, I'll forget it, and then I'll be like, oh. Whereas here now, it's like I don't have to try and talk so much because I'm the only one talking. So yeah, see, I heard quite a long time ago that the plane or the realm or whatever is vast, and there's no single way that if you were on the moon, yeah. Well, that's the other thing though. Like, my nephew banging flat Earth and whatnot, and I was quite chuffed that he understood that he knows all about the crater Earth thing. I didn't expect him to know. I'm always impressed with him when he knows stuff that I hadn't told him because he's always yeah, he's always like coming back to me with stuff I told him like 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm like, mate, I told you that. Oh, and he's like, oh. Yeah, he always says to me, you know what, Uncle Phil, you're like the top two, you and I don't know who else, maybe like Santos Bonacci or one of his people he loves to bits. You're like top two, no, like, clued up. And I'm like, oh, thanks, mate. That's pretty quite cool to be in the top two, like, of clued up people. Considered I'm his uncle, but he knows because I talked to him about all sorts of stuff. But this woman had said that there's an impossible to have been. Yeah, I mean, the whole moon. I love. This is what I love. Is like someone else, like London, has put across and puts across what he puts across so well that it makes it. It literally stimulates me to a point where I'm like, wow, fucking hell, that's a whole new one for me, and and it's totally feasible. Um, you know, it's like I found it difficult to try and understand the crater thing first of all until we was London had a stream with a few of us in, and Gremlin, she explained about the stars are just a reflection of the ground, and the dark is the sea. So it's either a hole or it's a solid thing, a star, and it's a reflection. And then the moon, we're on the moon, and that's a reflection of us in the moon. And I'm like, oh fuck. And because I said, I wondered to myself, is like, Dino is in New Zealand. Most of us are in England, I would guess. I'm not sure where you are, Layla. But whether because it would have to be different. If you're in a different part of the view. Oh, you are definitely in England, 100%. Um, um, that is interesting, and I'll tell you why. I think that comment there, Dean, is an important one. I was being here, travelling the ether, radio, telegraph, telephone, television, into it because we're turned on or something. Well, the first bit of what Dino said is that from listening to Ashrayana Dean, she goes on about these things called phase locks. And obviously, my name's Locke and my name's Phil. So anything to do with pH and lock or philo or lo-fi, whatever. And I was thinking, phase lock is phase lock. And the phase lock is like something in between one thing and another thing. So with that sea level thing, Dino, when you think about a lock on a canal, what happens? You go in, you go down, it fills up again. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's literally something like that. Exactly. All canals have locks, and that's why it interests me because my name's Locke, and I did read that some because we've all got surnames. Kendall is because your ancient ancestors came from Kendal in Cumbria, Dean. And I bought my dad a heraldry thing that said Locke meant curly hair. It meant you had land, and it's an French term. But also it could be that you were a lock keeper. You lived on the locks. And I think that these canals, these locks, and everything else, sluice gates, and all those sorts of things, are a lot older than what we're told. Because the Sumerians were the master canal builders. I'm, I just don't see why we can't be on a ball, but on a flat plane within a ball. Because if you can have like a stone semicircle roof, why can't you have an underneath? Same. And why can't, as above, we're on this level, and then so below, it's the same, but the other side. There's no reason why it can't be. The Suez Canal is the same sea level from the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, 102 miles of sea level. Hmm. And no locks in the Suez Canal then? I don't know. I mean, we're told here we're under sea level for yeah for an awful lot of Somerset is under sea level, and the sea is just here, literally. Now, where I am is slightly set up from the beach, but basically, what happens here, as the way I can describe it here, Burnham and Barrow, is like a ball. Then you've got the beach and whatnot, and the golf course, which is higher. Then, as you come down again, the other side, it drops down into another bowl. It's like two bowls. I think that's pretty much what the coastline is going to be like around for a lot of the country. Because I could never understand how are we under sea level. But look, in Western Supermed, just up the road, which Tracy will tell you, what they've done for the sea defences, it almost looks like they haven't done anything. Whereas here in Burnham, we've got a big sea wall, a big curve, a solid concrete, solid wall, so the water can't come up and over, and all the way down through Barrow where you've got a golf course, or this old well, golf course, I'm going to have to see much more about that. Down to Breen, they have had to put more stuff in for the sea defences. Uh, it is fascinating, depth and height of sea level. Well, yeah, and also an interesting thing, although they have got sluice gates actually on that river, I was thinking because, well, you got Bream Dam, which goes out to sea, come around to Western Supermare, you got a river called the River Axe, but all four of the rivers here, big rivers, are gated, like locked, literally. So, hey, what's up, squirrel, mate? They're all locked. When it's high tide, they get closed. When it's rained too much on the land, they open them up to get the water out. And when it is a spring tide or a super high tide, that's where the problems are the most because they can't open the gates because the sea will, so they can't get the water off the land quick enough. Um, and that's when you get these instances like you've all seen on the news in England where Somerset Levels is underwater. Because it is, I've seen it literally as far as the eye can see is water, and that's because they can't get rid of the water quick enough because of the high tide. So, but it's another question. I said to my nephew because he's like he will always say trust me, Uncle Phil. I'm like, no, I'm not. Don't trust you because you don't fucking know. You're just taking what other people tell you, all your bloody equations you've not ever done. And if you tried to do it, you wouldn't understand it anyway. The only way we can truly say is to go to the top of the biggest hill near us, a map, Ordnance Survey map, and then we get a compass or something, and whatever the distance is that the eye should be able to see before the curvature of the Earth, we mark the whole thing round, and anything we can see outside the perimeter proves it to everyone. Oh, it's a bit long. I'm like, mate, you got the opportunity to prove to everyone, but you can't be bothered. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's like, it's amazing engineering how they managed to, well, water will always find a way through, won't it? So it's like, the way they managed to stop it all from going up big time. But it's only a case of time before it happens again. I can assure you that. Um, Basically, we had a big flood here. I don't know what it was, a big flood. We had there's a thing called the King Sedgemoor Drain, which the Dutch came over and helped. Yeah, water pressure. The Dutch came over to help them do it because they are themselves like masters of the whole sea defence thing, and because obviously the Netherlands is like it is here, very low lying area, which is a lot of it is reclaimed land. Like Japan, Japan's another big area of reclaimed land, um, and a lot of Somerset would be not always underwater, but there would be a lot more abundance of water everywhere. The flat pasture land, which is what makes Somerset such a good uh, pasture for grazing the cattle and sheep and whatever, um, is purely because there was an inundation of water on and off in the different times of the year, which the what's left on the land is highly fertile because it's a lot of it was seawater, silt and everything. Uh, so yeah, so that's what it is. Dutch are the masters of holding back the waters and reclaiming land. There you go. There you go. Because they've been through it all. They had a lot of people die, didn't they? I think it's after the Second World War from major floods. Um, so that's why they came in and they did it here. And a lot of it, water, all the ditches are all linked. That's why when I look on the map, because they are old, they are old. I think much older than what we're told. The fact that I found all these stones, I haven't found any apart from on Burnham Seafront, but where stones were. Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected, and bit by bit. How's your new job going, London? Sorry, I totally forgot to ask. Have you started yet? Yeah, exactly. They're big ones. But another place is in Scotland, actually. You've got the Grand Union Canal. It's in London, I think, Grand Union Canal, actually. But in Scotland, you've got the canal that goes through Loch Ness, Loch, goes right across Scotland, and they're all connected with these big locks. So that's why I'm interested in the lock side of things, probably because it's connected to my name. So um, there's definitely questions to be asked about the whole thing. I can definitely. I'm open to anything really, because I don't think we can 100% really 100% truly prove a lot of the stuff, but we have this innate knowledge, this inner knowledge, and this belief. Yeah, Manchester ship canal. Oh, that's a big one. And that is a big one because that was literally to get ships uh, up and down from the mills and whatnot out to sea. So it'd have to be big. But this like innate knowledge or gut feeling, I think it's more than. Well, I think it might be. I think when you have this inner feeling, I think it's like I know for a fact you got to listen to it. And we might not be able to definitively 100% prove a lot of the things, and that's one thing. If you don't really know, like really know, um, you wasted your time with a lot of it because you know. Mm, could be. Tell you what, actually, a good way to look into that is the old track beds, the old railway track beds, because Britain was absolutely crisscross with railways, wasn't it? Um, yeah, I never thought about that actually. That is a good way to have all the earth compacted in to hold to the tracks, isn't it? But if you look at the old railway tracks, the old track beds, because Dr. Beechin, he cut out a lot of it. So no matter where you lived near a railway station. A lot of the time, not everywhere, but you had all these smaller railways. Like, in fact, I'll show you. So here is a prime example of what happened. This is called the Somerset and Dorset Railway, and there's Bath, there's Burnham, and we were connected directly to Bournemouth. Now, getting to Bournemouth now is a right pig's ear. It's difficult. Yeah, exactly, squirrel. But back then, it was literally the whole way. Could have got on a train straight down to Bournemouth. Happy days. But they cut all that out. But the old track beds are still there. I think. Well, yeah, most of these places haven't got railway stations. Burnham hasn't. Highbridge has. All of that way across there. Bridgewater has. Glastonbury hasn't. Uh, Wincanton, Temple Combe, Wells, Midsummer Norton, Radstock. All of those places, even down to Bournemouth. I mean, I would love to be able to get on a train to go to Bournemouth now. over a mountain, and these locks to cross from the Pacific to Atlantic. There are no locks on the Suez. Yeah, Bluebell Railway. That's like a heritage railway, isn't it? The Bluebell Railway. Like the Somerset Doors actually, although they don't really have a thing anymore. It's one that from an old one called the West Somerset Railway actually used to have a museum at. But the canal lifts are also, yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, rises over the mountains. It's amazing, isn't it? I can get it to go over the mountain. Old tech. Old tech. Very old tech. I would love to go across the Panama Canal actually. When you say it like that, it's a bit like you get these funicular railways, railway complex. Those are sidings. You've not got a railway station in Westbury. No, it's past that, isn't it? Butcher. Westbury is definitely a either in Earth portal, some portal. It clearly says Westbury, England. Vale of Pewsey, England. Our squirrel knows that most of the places we're told are venerated places. There's just out of the way, just a little, not quite what we're told. Uh, so they talk about Stonehenge, but I think it's not actually Stonehenge. It's just down the road. You talk about Glastonbury, but I don't think it's actually Glastonbury. Quite where it is yet, I still haven't been able to. Yeah, it would have probably been quite a big junction point sometime in Westbury. But all these places are not. It's not quite where we're told. They're just energy harvesting places. A bit like Wembley, you know. I said it many times. Wembley, Ley. So it's all in the word. But you think about it, the home of football, and football is a Masonic game. Thomas Sheridan said about this. He collects Masonic books. My daughter's about. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. My friend is looking at getting a canal boat, and she wants to know where's some advice. So if you can give us any advice on that, or a link or something, because she said that you can live on a barge, and you can stay in one place for a little bit of time, but you've got to move over so much over a year, so you can go from Bristol to Bradford on Avon over a few months, and that's enough. Yeah, it's but yeah, football is most cities in England have got two teams. London's a bit different, but even within that, there will be something because obviously London's such a big place. But like Bristol, you've got Bristol City, Bristol Rovers. Liverpool, you've got Liverpool, Everton. Manchester, you've got Man City, Man United. Um, so on and so forth. Oh, really? What to sell? Oh, nice one. I read that completely wrong, and I thought you said someone's doing one up me. I thought, eh? Yeah. So football was purely made to divide city, divide families, to create a diversion from people, um, families, purely because after the I suppose that sort of Napoleonic Wars, before the First World War, and between the wars, football was massive. Even women's football, you get 40, 50,000 people to a game. They banned women's football. Exactly, exactly. They like with football, it was purely yeah, exactly to divide families, which is what I say. It's like and he's probably one of the Thomas Sheridan's my absolute faves. And he explained the whole football. Blue is the moon, red is the sun. It's a Masonic thing, purposely to divide cities, families, countries. Um, and then Alan Watt, the Scottish guy, not the Buddhist guy, he is like he said for a long time, King OG 2.0, Daddy, hello. um, uh, yeah, but for the destruction of the family unit has always been the ultimate thing to do. Um, and we look at families now compared to 100 years ago. I don't know how many some people in this room. I would hedge my bets at least 5 of 7 have come have either their family, mum and dad split up, um, or their uncle and auntie, or not many people's families are still together. So it has worked, but with football especially, it was purely to smash a massive wedge in between families, cities, because people were pissed off after all the wars, all the people dying. This was before the First World War, um, but they obviously had a plan. You know, it's not just happened by chance. For the wars to happen, and it's a way to appease or keep a thing going in between. I mean, that's why they set up the NHS, purely because people were pissed off after 2 lots of wars, everyone getting obliterated, and the wealthy people, yeah, the the people, the elite or whoever they are, um, were still super rich, living in absolute, you know, beautiful palaces, or living a high life, where the likes of us were absolutely at the bottom of the pecking order, living in abject poverty, and they had to do the NHS to appease, because the one thing they've always been scared of is the people standing up and kicking them out. And unfortunately, due to the older, they've managed to sort of quell that whole thing, maybe for a little while, or for a generation or whatever, of people being able to stand up and fight back, because uh, potentially they've got the capabilities to just turn it off when it starts to get a little bit too fucking raucous. You know what I mean? What do you think about that, guys? Anyone got any views on that? Try and keep it in code, as it were, so it don't get banned. But that's what I think. That's the one thing they've always been petrified of, is us taking our power back, and by whatever percentage of the population that have had the old bish bash bosh, they can literally, yeah, they can literally completely appease anyone, turn them up and down, and potentially uh, the opposite side of things, where could I guess be able to start shit if they wanted it to, because you're gonna have both ends of the polarity, aren't you? You're gonna have it turn it down or ramp it up. So my nephew told me about a friend of his friend's auntie. Now I was gobsmacked because my friend's mum's fella has had 6 or 7 of the old, the aunt. I thought, fucking hell, 7, that's a shitload. How's he even walking? And my nephew told me about his friend's auntie. Oh, it's apple, pear, cucumber, matcha, green tea, and spirulina. I used to make all my own juices, but I'm on my mum's tonight, so I've been trying to be healthy. I've got potentially not a very good thing going on with the old blood and sugar, so I've been trying to hold it down. What is this? Even when the band and leaving the town. Oh no, mate. I mean, that's one thing where I am super glad that I don't live in the middle of one of these places, because well, it'll take a while, but yeah, it's anyway. My mate's auntie had been had been going and having it for a lot of money, people paying. She's had over 50. I was like, what? 50? Like, that's fucking ridiculous. How the fuck? You know, people have had like 1, 2, 3, 4 carking it. 50. Then I started thinking, oh, maybe like the whole thing about the African ladies that had AIDS, got AIDS so many times that their body basically become immune to it, as it were. Funny how that happened then, isn't it? Um, yeah, 50 of the old things. No, it's funny because when I said my live cut out and it reconnected. It isn't funny. It isn't funny at all. It's absolutely awful. And the mind boggles, doesn't it? 50. Fuck me. I didn't even want to have one. I won't have one. So 50. You can imagine. I don't know. Because there's always the old placebo, one every other one. But that means you had 25. Yeah, man. I can personally recommend making your own juices. But less, because it's got preservatives in there. Oh, right. It's quite nice. It's fucking a lot cheaper than the old innocent or whatever they call. But that is juice rather than a smoothie. So that is But saying that, what we got there? Spirulina. That's like isn't it like a mold? Or was that blue green algae? I can't remember. But I've done it twice, 2 detoxes. Um, 2 juices a day. Uh, Celery, apple, pear, ginger. Yeah. Do you know? You know, then he's not the only one. I've got friends that's so-called like spiritual hippies that are like, they were fucking tripping over each other to get it. And I'm like, what the fuck? How on earth can you be such a like hippie, whatever you want to call it, when you're like queuing up? Angostura bitters, oh yeah, I like a bit of that. Is that what spirulina is? Angostura bitters? What's it you have wankers to a bit? Is it like soda water? I can't remember. I used to have it in the pubs I used to work at. Someone got me into Angostura Bitters. I think if you have too much of it, it can make you ill, but like diluted with soda water. Is it soda water or tonic water? I can't remember. But yeah, the whole these so-called spiritual people, honestly, the ones that made me laugh were the other like super Christian, like full on clean. Yeah, the super God people that go on about them being God's chosen ones, yet they were fucking queuing up. I'm like, what? Oh yeah, well, yeah, but God will protect us from it. I'm like, why the hell? Yes, thank you, Lola. As always, I muchly appreciate you. Yeah, well, right, Queen, interesting. Oh, what do you mean? Do you mean for lowering blood sugars and that? Thank you. That's a good one. I'm glad about that. Because that's the thing. I've got to go to fucking. When they first started going on about it, I was absolutely 100% thinking, I know what they just want me to have the old fucking thing. So I stayed away from it all. And then when I moved, I registered my mum's for the doctors because Queen of parasites too. Yeah, there's a Demetrius Earth as well is good for that, but you can't and hate you just be a liquid. Yeah, I honestly thought that it was good. They were going to try their hardest to get me like a jab. Radiation protection. I think it's like what I said. It's to purely to be able to control the masses to stop them from rising up through nano, you know, radiation protection. I don't believe that they've got any. I don't believe that it's for good whatsoever. Just don't. You know, or someone that again, a girl in Colombian football team, professional footballer, massive heart attack, 18. I don't know. I don't think it's for good. I don't think anything on a major level. I got a friend who would argue with me, saying I'm not going to listen to somebody who does, yeah, of whatever kind. You know, telling me when they, and I'm like, are you for real? When have you ever heard the government telling everyone to go out and do? Yeah, they don't, do they? Never once. You know, so think about it. It's a bit different. Not quite the same thing, is it? You know, if they turn around to me and start saying we want everyone to start taking pills, you know, I'd have to be like, no thanks, or whatever it is. You know, they never openly want us to do anything that's good for us, do they? Yeah, well done, Edna. Good for you. Everyone in my family say me, apart from me and my nephew. So you know, we a lot of families like that, unfortunately. I'm glad to say there are some families where no one had it. No one had it at all. Guys, right, like I said about Alan Watt. Alan Watt, in my mind, is the. I think he was taken out, like a lot of them. Not directly taken out, but heavy. Yeah, that's it, mate. Exactly. Oh, and I bet you that those two were bullied into it from work. Were they? not just like happily queue up for it, but the work made them. That's the biggest fucking one for me, is the people that were had to have it for work. And I say to all of them, I had to have it for work, but I was like, no, I'm fucking having it, and you sack me if you want. And my old boy to me, she goes, Phil, but we see that you've opted not to have it. Can you tell me why? I was like, yeah, they've done enough testing. Um, yeah, they've done enough testing for it. She goes, well, 30,000 people have had it now, and not one person's had a side effect. I was like, do you honestly believe yourself? I said, you know, you can't pass tomato sauce without fucking a year's worth of fucking heavy fucking testing. So don't give me 2 weeks worth of testing and it's all alright. I said, you must be absolutely mental. I said, do you think most side effects are like overnight? Oh, I said, I'll happily get sacked. I said, there's not enough. You don't pay me anything like what I should get paid. And you certainly ain't fucking going to make me have anything apart from what I choose to. Bully me into it. And who I work for now, only two of them in the whole company, which are in the same team as I'm in now, because they're one of my best mates, and luckily one of the other guys chose not to. Every single other person was so worried about their job and whatnot. Yeah, they're paying you minimum wage, mind. It's not like you're on like, any of the real top jobs. They wouldn't have had a thing about it. They didn't say it, did they? It wasn't a thing. You wouldn't got bullied into it. But us poor fuckers that do all our fucking hard graft for fuck all money, you know, they bullied 99% of them into having it done. And that's the biggest crime, I think, of the whole thing. Is that those poor fuckers who wouldn't have had it done. Literally, some of them went to even my mate Steve, he was at the last minute, he was like, thinking, I'm going to have to have it because I'm going to lose my job, I can't afford to live. And thank God he didn't, because, I mean, we don't know, do we? But what I do know is me personally, I've seen one person, my brother, have a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot. I've seen my best mate's aunt, Joe, actually, who was in there earlier, his cousin's uncle, living life and soul of anyone you meet in the 70s, uh, stroke, died of a stroke. Countless people we've all known. We can all tell these people. Yeah, exactly, squirrel mate. And that's the thing. Like I knew that something was coming in the pipeline, and it's mostly because of listening to Alan Watt for years. Literally, Alan Watt. Um, I used to have a show every week on YouTube, cutting through the matrix. It was like an hour long, and I used to listen every single week. And the pearls of wisdom I got from him. So I was expecting something to be going on, and as soon as he started talking about it, I was like, no, 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 no. I said, listen, my dad's a prime example. He was absolutely independent, 82, driving, swimming twice a week, living his life fine. As soon as he started talking about it, like ramping it up, I said, I don't want you watching the news anymore. And he's like, what? What do you mean? I love the news. All people love the news. I'm like, Dad, please don't watch it because I saw that absolute C word of a man, Piers Morgan, and that other one, whatever his name is, actually said, and they need to be dealt with in the harshest way possible. They said 80%, they were up, Tony, mate? Oh, Tony, they said 80% of the population are going to die. This is before they even had a test for it. 80% of the population are going to die. As soon as I start talking, you know, Big Brother is watching. Because we all know we're all. So all I will say on that matter, I'm not going to go on about it anymore because we all know we're all in the same script with this one. Is that the moment that they brought out the name called PHI BIO, that word, it's like chicken and chips. Just put an N in the middle and no one will notice what it means. I was like, what the fuck? Why hasn't anyone noticed that it's called, you know what I mean? Come on, guys, surely you can see that this isn't what we're told. Why are you calling a medicine thing, which actually means, if you look it up, the replication of the human form via by a non-human thing. Same as that old. It means star killer. I mean, what? Who in their right mind names a company that's supposed to be giving life killer? I mean, I don't think you have to have a fucking any sort of brain to know that if you're calling something BNT, it is exactly what it fucking says it is. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't surely people must have? Yeah, exactly. I mean, and and another great quote is it was a massive IQ test. So I think it fucking was. It really was because you know, surely I've never seen anyone, and I've been like awake to it all. Never one person mention those two things. What I just said, those two companies' names. Yeah, yeah, and sadly for my dad, it literally killed him. He'd gone from a totally independent man to a shell of a quivering wreck. Didn't even want to go out in the garden. I tried fucking everything, and uh, the one saving grace from it all is that from looking after my dad, I was able to understand why he would get so angry and frustrated with me when I was young, because he just turned into what me as a teenager, just wanting to eat ice cream and biscuits and not do fuck all. And he used to drive me mad. I used to be like, "You're doing this to yourself," And it was the one saving thing from it all that I sort of healed my childhood issues with my dad. So I'm grateful for that, but I would rather it have been done in a much nicer way. So there we go. That is the sad state of affairs that we all got into. But well done for everyone that every single one of you guys that got through it. Yeah. Oh, you said that to him. I said, Dad, you're gonna get fucking rickets. He used to say that to me. Yeah, you'll get rickets. And I said that to him. I said, you're gonna get rickets. He laughed at me. I'm like, but it's true, Dad. That's what rickets is. Lack of sun. It's true, isn't it? And he was a fucking mess by the end of that too. So there you go. But well, don't want to be sad. I mean, we should all pat ourselves on the back for seeing through the whole shenanigans because this is essentially the start of it all. Exactly, Carmen. Me and my mate Rob, we'd gone to what shop was that? We'd gone to, and we didn't have a mask on. And this woman, you haven't got a mask, followed us round. We were like, look, fuck off, I'm not wearing one. I said, don't come anywhere near me if you're worried about it. And I was like, just literally followed us around going, they're not wearing a mask, I'm not wearing a mask. And fuck off, leave us alone. But yeah, pat yourselves on the back, it's unwell. Because I think potentially, someone was talking about it in Esoteric Nights of Malta earlier about cows. Well, I watched something not long ago. They were talking about the whole bird flu thing and how now humans are getting it. Oh, come on. went from humans to dog, from birds to dogs to humans. I was like, oh, here you go. Yeah, mate, it's my woods outfit. If you go down to the woods today, I always get asked that. Am I going fishing? Is that, mate? I was exactly the same, literally. I'm probably lucky because I started working nights just as it all started happening, and I didn't change a bloody thing. I didn't change a bloody thing, as they would say. I carried on doing exactly the same as what I'd always done. Nothing at all. I did wear a mask a couple of times, or I just do this most of the time. If it was like really like exactly. Well, it made me laugh because I remember people were coming in with balaclavas and shit on. I was thinking, this is ridiculous. Usually, if someone walks in with a balaclava on, you're fucking worried, aren't you? No, they're encouraging it. It's crazy, crazy times. Cheers, mate. Um, yeah, it was a weird, it was a whole, yeah, mate. That's what I actually quite liked it. I quite liked the whole thing. I mean, for the likes of you and I, Drax, that noticed the fucking sky. I've never seen it looking so pristine. You know, it was beautiful. First day, proper day of lockdown. I walked out. I walked across to my mate's farm. Across to that, look, not that far, but far enough. And I seen about 4 or 5 in different places groups of bears. You know, which you don't generally see. And the wildlife came out big time. So, I was just amazed by the amount of like rollover. Yeah, like every day it was the same. They mask, they test. No, at my work they make us have the test, but basically I was the first person to have the test, and she goes, "Oh, you've got to make your whatever it's called, do this or whatever." I was like, "Ugh." So and because I was like all the time, hey, thank you. She was like, no, don't worry about it. You don't have to do that. So I just get it. I just like give it back. But the problem with it all is that oh, hello, Paul from Newcastle. I am not going to go on about it because I guarantee we'll see the spinning wheel of shutting it down. But I, at work, every day we'd have to read the thing called a read and sign file where we read everything, and it's fucking like it was like about that thick of stuff we'd have to read and sign every day. And most of the time it was just nonsense like washing your hands or all that nonsense. But uh, I can believe it. Do you know what? I've pretty much given up smoking and I hardly ever use these, but I was a bit stressed the day before yesterday. And I thought, you know what, I'll just have. And I haven't really been caning it too much, even here. When I'm at work, I'll be doing it all the time. I think this is the next one, the next ticking time bomb. Really, because I noticed when I used to use them a lot, my sort of asthma. When I smoke the other one, um, when I smoke the other one, I do get like I can hear I get a bad wheeze, and I start noticing it with these. So I barely use them, but I had this the other day because I was a bit stressed out, so I thought, you know. But the whole, the whole, where am I going with this? Where am I going? Oh yeah, basically the make of the company that did the original tests, they got fucking withdrawn and like pulled out from in July, right? And I'm reading this reading sign file, and it's clearly saying that from July there's certain testing kits were not fit for humans to use, and we were still using them in December. And I was like, huh? So I basically recorded it all, and then on the notes, it would be like number 4. So you get number 4.1, 0.12, 0.123. It should go in order, numerical, like anything else would do. This one, so it was like section 4.123, went on to section something completely different without it finishing it like it would have gone in order. So it gone from like section 4.3 to section 5.4. I was like, there's a whole section missing here. So I recorded it all, and I left before I ever pulled them up on it. But all the stuff, you know, I was like, they fucking know about this, and they've only pulled it up in the conversation in January. I'm like, what's going on here? So once again, all those stuff they're pretty bad. Everything. Yeah, probably. Well, it even said that if anyone finds any of these kits, ring this number. We'll send the dispatch team out to pick them up and get rid of them straight away. I was like, what the fuck, you know? And they purposely pulled that section out of the whole thing. I recorded it all. It's all on my phone. Never, you know, but it wasn't right. That was a big one. That how on earth they could fucking, but you know, people were fucking. That woman's had 50 of them. She must rattle when she's going round. I don't know. Potentially could have been 25. They were 50. Every other one was a placebo or whatever, but I don't know about that either. Right, I don't know. I'm going to film till 3 hours, which is done. I've done pretty well so far. I think it's gone all right, considering it's just been me chatting and you guys chatting. I haven't had any much content apart from what we're talking about. Oh, looks like something going on your chat, London. Sam says, I don't know. But, oh, no, I don't know. It's too much. Yeah, I know. I know, isn't it? It is, but it beggars belief how some people are literally queuing up. Thank you, Dean. I tell you what, though, what's everyone make of this whole UAP disclosure thing? I personally think that they've been leading up to it for quite a while now. You know, there's been too much heavy amounts of stuff out there, so for it to not be, no, I don't know either. I'm not sure either, mate. I didn't. All I know is that the only way I could guarantee a million what I'd get in any of it is by not having it. Full stop. And I would have gone to the woods if I had to. If I had to, I still will. I'm fully prepared. Got everything I need to do. Exactly. It's all. What's the old one that they will give you the you know, the ultimate fucking bad thing, so that they can come in on the ride of the white horse and save the day. But actually, that is it. That is the ultimate bad thing. You know that they are in the process of being able to. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Thank you, Jax, mate. Thank you very much. Much appreciative. Yeah, I'm going to start for 10 minutes, but I mean, even looking at the skies is pretty fucking difficult at the moment, isn't it? It's trying to look at the sky is very difficult. You know, Jack's video today proves it exactly. I done one the other day. I'm like Jack's. I done one the other day called hopscotch. I called it dem rails because the moment you start talking about the in any actual terms, as we've seen on here a minute ago, it's sort of you don't get any. I mean, I don't get any that many views on my stuff anyway, but you don't get hardly any views, and if people comment, you can't read it, or it says there's no comments, and there is comments. But it was like, honestly, me and my mate Tom, we were driving towards, we were coming to Burnham, going somewhere, right? And basically, you know, the X marks the spot thing, where there was two big X, massive X's, with another X joined at the bottom. So there's two X's like that, one here, and then at the bottom there was one triple X. I was like, how? You know, it's a red arrow stunt fucking display team to make a fucking something like that going on. Do you know what I mean? And it was literally like that, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, you know, what on earth are they going on about there? And the weird thing was that it was right over pretty much where I found this spot where me and Tom went. And I found the view I'd been looking for, and I was like thinking, what is going on here? What is going on? You know, you can't, you couldn't X marks the 6. Oh, ooh, that's even worse. Thinking about 3 of them. Not that I'm too worried about that whole thing anyway. It's a bit of a, once again, minefield when you go onto that 6 of the 6 of the 6 one. But, yeah, there you go. Well, it would be 10, 10, 10 if it was X. I don't know. 11 crossed. Yeah, right. 11, 11, 11. My cross used. I was using my phone. Oops. But it was like I was like, you know, I understand how like one could go across one on a flight path, but how you could. I was driving, so I couldn't film it. Wish I had done because the hopscotch one 11, 11, 11, 11, 33. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was something. There was definitely something going on with it because to have 3 different planes crossing at 3 points, all connected in a not like a you know how big these things are in the sky. It's like I said, it'd been like a fucking red arrow stunt display team to be able to knock that together. So they was definitely it was a sign of something, 100%, because I can't see how you'd have had 6 different planes, wouldn't you? All going across at a similar time because when they first happen, they don't stay like that, do they? Ultimately, they go into a big cotton wool ball. And the one I've done the other day, I called it hopscotch because it was it was too perfect to be anything but a big sign. It was something was going on. That's for sure. Definitely. I mean, like you say about you can't see in the sky. I'll never forget a couple of years ago, come out of work, right? And literally, it looked like somebody had got some, like, the stuff you spray in the window at Christmas or Halloween. And just gone, across the whole sky. Yeah, I mean, and me personally, I have seen at least one craft. I'm not saying anything more than that. I'm not saying it's from outer space, inner space, Earth aid, whatever. But I saw something, and it was like but convex end, so not going in, going out, like an aerosol can, but without, and it was like a mirror, a Stonehenge, and it was there, 100%. And I've seen now, I've lost count how many times I've seen these things, lights in the sky, which they've got no, ooh, yeah, thank you, Carmen, thank you, Carmel, sorry. Yeah, that is interesting. Also, the stunt display team of the parachute teams, weren't they called either the Red Devils or there's something Angels? I remember. Was it the Red Devils? Do you remember that? Squirrel, the Red Devils, Paul. I've absolutely seen so much stuff now, but uh, uh, there's no. I've seen basically, the best way I can describe it is they are as luminous as a star, same size. Yeah, red arrows. He said the blue angels, but there's one called the red devils. I think it was wing walk, not wing walking, parachute display team. I think they called the red devils. Seen them once, and they all like joined together. But yeah, it's like literally like a star. But it's not. It isn't a star. It's something else. But it's not a plane because all planes, drones, helicopters, they all have to have flashing lights. And also, most planes don't go. And also, they're not on like any. You see planes like here in Bristol, we've got airport, Cardiff's got airport, Exeter's got airport, and so planes could be good. But then you got when they come in from, I would have thought like a transatlantic flight, you can hear them. I think when it comes over land, they must slow down. But I've seen like three of them going along once. First time I seen it was at Stanton Drew. I thought my mate was tripping. I was like, no, it's impossible. And I was like, fuck. And I couldn't. I had a proper camera as well. Couldn't get good enough zoom on it, but you can hear me clearly say, "Fuck." Um, those things aren't. They're not drones. They're not planes. They're not. I don't know what they are. I'll tell you what. This final thought. I actually picked up. I was in my mate's back garden watching one of these things, and I picked up a signal through my headphones. I promise you, there's no reason to say it. That I could literally, I picked up a signal from whatever it was through my headphones, and it was like, like on Star Wars, where there's like those droids come in and like some sort of code. I literally picked it up on my headphones, and I've been listening with headphones to my phone since I was able to listen to headphones. I'm always listening to headphones on my phone. Never picked up any type of interference, but I fucking did that night, and I could clearly hear some sort of language, or I don't know what it was, but it wasn't anything we know of. it was literally like something like that. I was like, what the fuck? So not only traveling at super speeds and physics we can't do, they're also talking in a super mad language, and no one knows what it is. Well, I'm going to bed. Thank you. It's been 3 hours, gone quite quick. Whoever listened to the second chapter, I hope it came across clear enough. Thank you all for coming by, and yeah, I'll be doing another chapter at some point. Trying to find nights when other people ain't got stuff going on. So much love and respect.